You watching MMA Oddsbreaker? Frank Trigg. Elvis is getting ready to fight Jesse Taylor. Coming up here in World Series of Fighting number 7, December 7th up there in Vancouver, British Columbia. The good news is you won't have to worry about the weather in Vancouver. Iowa's pretty cold right now too, so you'll be well acclimated to that. I talked to a couple other fighters from World Series of Fighting, and none of them seem to think the weather is going to bother them when it comes to cutting weight. But it's been my experience if I'm in a super cold climate, and right now I'm in Vegas, going up to a place like Vancouver, weather does make a factor in trying to cut weight. How's your weight, and do you think that the weather's going to be a problem for you?
Oh, I'm right where I'm usually at, and the weather's. I mean, I'm from Iowa, so it really is not going to bother me a whole lot.
Unless you're going to Siberia, or you're going to
Yeah.
the furthest.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. As long as you put me in a hot place with a sauna suit, I'll be able to sweat.
Yeah, and that's one of the good things though about that wrestler mentality that you developed. That you're going to make weight no matter what happens. You're going to be able to fight the next day. Making weight's not the issue. How is your recovery, and what do you do to recover after making weight on Friday night to be able to fight on a Saturday night?
Hey, I used to drink Pedialyte. I used to do the same thing everybody else. I figured out a couple of tricks. Just make sure I get my electrolytes in, and make sure I get some fruit and my protein and plenty of carbs in, and I'll be good to go.
What are you going to walk into the cage at when you face off against Jesse?
I'm gonna try not to be over 205 because I before I had a couple fights I was over 205. I felt a little sluggish, and I feel like I have to be on point.
That's something new. Only the last couple of years have fighters started realizing that there's actually too much weight that you can put back on as a competitor. For you, it's 205. Some guys say 200. When they're fighting at 185, but it's always kind of around that range. Anything more than 15 pounds at that size, they tend to feel real sluggish and real swollen. How do you know when you're getting too big? And if there's a situation like you wake up the next morning and you know, oh wow, I put on too much weight last night, I ate too much for dinner. Do you try to get some of that off before the actual fight, or you just hope everything's going to turn out okay? Like, do you get a workout in the day of the fight, or do you have to push it off and save all your energy for the actual fight?
I don't. I know it depends how much I cut the last day. The more I cut the last day, the more I put back on. That's how I know. I know roughly what I cut the last day. That's how I know how much I'm gonna put back on, and so far it worked out real good for me.
Best case scenario, what do you wake up at day of weigh-ins? 5 over, 6 over?
Hell, I'll be on weight if the best case scenario. But I wish that was it. As long as it's in 5-6 range, I'm real comfortable about it.
All right, enough about making weight. Let's talk about the fight night. Let's break down Jesse Taylor. Great wrestler, trying to work on his hand speed, kind of a grinder. Nothing real super flashy. How do you think he's going to come out at you? Do you think he's going to do anything different that he's done in the past, or is he going to be just the same Jesse Taylor we've always seen?
You can't. The thing I learned over the years is you can't expect somebody to be the same fighter as they were before. I'm sure he's got a game plan. I'm sure he's going to stick to it. I just got to be ready for whatever he is planning to do. I think he's going to come out real aggressive like usual. If he doesn't, they're fine. If he does, I'm ready for that, and I think that's one we're gonna see. I think he's gonna try and come out real aggressive and keep the real high pace for the whole fight.
How is your confidence level right now for this fight? Because you're on a five fight win streak, and you're doing pretty good. Now let's break it down. But the people at home don't really understand these last 5 fights that you've been crushing. August 2011, you win by knockout. March of 2012, you win by submission armbar. Then in August of 2012, you win by TKO. October of 2012, TKO by leg kicks. Like, you kick the guy so bad in the legs, he quit. That's a very rarity. That's like a body shot. Like, it's very rare. You're like maybe one of only 5 guys I've ever seen make that happen. And then Sam Alvey, your last fight in MFC back in February, you decisioned him, but you beat the crap out of him for 3 rounds. He just wouldn't go away. He was one of those fighters that he's just very tough. He's very game. You couldn't make him get silenced. He just kept coming after it. You're kind of on a terror. Like, you're kind of maturing. You're kind of growing up as a fighter. What's been different since the Artist Young fight, which is back in June of 11? That was your last loss. Since then, you're kind of controlling better game plans, smarter as a fighter as well. You're really understanding how the cage or ring works. What's that? Is that your coaching? Is that you just finally said, I got to start making the big leagues? Or what's been going on with you?
I was always a very hardworking guy, and the one thing that I noticed that I learned from. Everybody knows that you learn a lot more from losses than wins. One thing I learned on that fight was that the things that I have to improve on. I've always felt like I was, power wise, I can walk most of the guys down and catch them with something, but the power wasn't enough, and that's one thing that I learned from Martinez, young fight. That he was faster than me, and I was having a real hard time dealing with him. And that's one thing that I made sure I stepped up on was speed. I was always more of a kickboxer Muay Thai guy. And one thing that I picked up on was, started working with some boxing coaches, and that helped a lot. And, and then at the same time, you got to stay on top of everything else, and you just got to keep improving, and keep pushing yourself, keep trying to break your limits. And you got to keep getting smarter, you got to fight harder, but smarter at the same time.
Now that you're saying that, I remember you telling me that when I interviewed you before the Joseph Henley fight, when you ended up leg kicking him and TKO him with leg kicks, that you were talking about how you've been working on your speed, and I really hadn't noticed it until I watched that fight. And when I saw that fight, I was like, wow, Elvis really has been working on your speed. But you didn't. A lot of people, when they do speed, they lose their power. You've actually worked on your power while working on your speed, so you're not only faster, but you're also stronger at the end of it. Is there a particular thing you can share with us that you've been working on besides just working with boxing coaches and trying to work on that speed? Is there other things you do as far as strength and conditioning or stretching or whatever you do to help improve that speed as well?
I guess I used to stay, like when I was doing strength and conditioning, I would stay, I would try to lift heavier weights for a lot longer, getting closer to the fight. Where to now I back it off a little sooner, and try to work on more on higher, still moving, decent weight at the fast speed, doing conditioning wise. And it's to be honest, if you're reacting, in your boxing, you're going to be reacting in your wrestling. It's more of that, just reaction. If you're reacting on one thing, you're going to react to another thing, and it's a chain of reaction. So if I'm doing really good at one thing, I'm going to do good at something else too.
Yeah, the overall athlete for mixed martial arts really has to be good in every field. There's a lot of guys that play football that would be good baseball players, would be good basketball players. But to be able to do all three of those at the same time is very difficult. In mixed martial arts, we have to do all three. We have to be a great wrestler, we have to be a great jiu-jitsu guy, we have to be a great striker. Whether it's Muay Thai, boxing, or karate, or taekwondo, whatever it is, we've got to have those three things together. And it takes a real special body power to make that work, like to understand how your body works. But your mindset seems to be different too in these last 5 fights. You're mentally different than when you fought young. Even in Keenan Curry back in March of 2012, you were different mentally. Are you doing mental training? Are you doing any kind of mental coaching, or is it just finally all kind of come together? Because when I say you've got maturity, it's not something that really a coach teaches you. It's like one of those things where the athlete just makes up his mind to go, oh, I've learned that. I'm not going in that corner, or I'm not going to follow him in this position. I'm going to spin out. You get a lot more mature with how you treat the fight. Is there a particular thing you're doing for your mental training, or is that just something that just came natural from grinding it out in practice?
I just, I think this is the years of practice. I just started realizing what I'm actually capable of. I'm actually understanding more of, what kind of talents and gifts I possess. I understand what I'm good at. I understand what I'm lacking on, what I need to work on. And I guess I'm a realist, and I understand what I'm good at, what I need to improve, and I'm willing to accept, really accept reality.
And that's one of the good things about you, Elvis, is that you do not have a problem going into practice and going, look, I'm not good in this position, let's fix it. I'm not good at doing this, let's fix it. And there's a lot of guys that, myself included, early in my career, I did not want to fix the things I was bad at, and as a result, I kept losing by the same thing over and over again, and it becomes an issue. You have seemed to develop, and you seem to fit in very well up there in Des Moines. Like your demeanor, the power, the weather, like everything kind of fits into your entire. I don't want to say shtick because it's not something you made up. This is just who you are. But it's like your whole personality kind of fits up in that space. You're good enough now where a major camp anywhere in the country would love to have you come down and do their training camps with you, whether it's ATT or it's Jackson's or it's Couture's or it's Alpha Male, like any of these big programs throughout the country would love to have a guy like you come in and do 6 weeks, 8 weeks of training camp. Do you travel at all for your training camps, or do you do everything in Iowa still?
Still, currently, everything is in Iowa. I still have a full-time job, so
Yeah.
I'm still training full-time and working full-time. So putting in 2-3 days, and I think that's one thing that if we say mentally that you were saying that earlier. I think that's one thing that helps me, understand why I'm not necessarily better, but why I'm willing to work harder than other guys. Is I know that I work almost any opponent I ever face is because when they're home resting, I'm at work working, and when and then I have to go in and train again. I think that's one thing that helps me get where I'm at.
Well, this is doing you well. It's a pleasure to watch you fight every time you fight. And to be honest with you, you do bring a different game to the table every time that you fight. It's a different way that you fight. You've got different tricks and different things that you picked up. And it's fun to watch you improve, but it's also fun to watch the surprise on your opponent's faces when, like, oh, I wasn't expecting leg kicks. What happened? I wasn't expecting that hook to come at me with a takedown right after it. Like, this is something brand new I didn't see in film. And so it makes you a lot tougher to prepare for and to train for. And you and Jesse as a matchup, stylistically speaking, is a great fight. It's an amazing high action fight. We just got to see whose game plan is better and who can stick to the game plan better by the time the final bell rings.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be one of those really high paced fights. Either way it goes, whoever gets a hand raised at the end, I think it's going to be either a really fast finish, explosive finish, or it's going to be a long drawn out fight. So I really don't care as long as I have my hand raised at the end. If I break my both my hands and both of my legs by hitting him and kicking him, or pull my shoulder out by choking him, I don't care as long as I get my hand raised at the end.
And that's why we love to watch you fight, because you really don't care. You're not just saying it as a line. You're saying it because that's exactly what you believe. You break your fist on his face, as long as he falls down, you'll go home and get a cast put on it. You'll be okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Elvis, for coming out of MMA Oddsbreaker. I appreciate it. Good luck on December 7th against Jesse Taylor, and we'll talk to you soon.